Hello and welcome to Western Perspective. Well, 2017 has been an eventful year, with moments across Australia and the world that have captured our attention. We've seen events of change, frustration, success and progress that have marked the highs and lows of the past year. Tonight we take a look back at the big local and national stories that have impacted you in 2017.
Thanks very much.
It was a year of change, triumphs, failures and emotions.
Let me address very clearly this issue of citizenship.
Events across the world made headlines, impacting people at home and abroad. In Western Australia, national and local events became stories that played a large part in telling the narrative of 2017.
We need safe schools. It is not.
The year began with conflict in January, ongoing protests over land clearing for construction on the Row 8 highway extension.
We understand there's a big issue with freight going through the metropolitan area. Row 8 would not have fixed that. It was a monumental waste of money.
The protests would lead to work on Row 8 stopping in March, after WA's state election. Controversy continued later in the month, with the city of Fremantle changing its date of Australia Day to January 28, holding a culturally inclusive event to recognise dispossession of Aboriginal Australians.
We're actually trying to find a more Australian day and focus on a future in which Aboriginal people can celebrate with everybody.
Thank you to the great Australian Labor Party.
Meanwhile, March 11 signalled change in WA after Labor leader Mark McGowan unanimously defeated Colin Barnett in the state election, ending the Liberal Party's time in government after 8 years. In April, Perth's new children's hospital would continue to face problems with high lead levels in its water supply preventing its open, before the government announced the open date for May 2018. Dual citizenship took centre stage in federal government starting in June, with 8 senators including Scott Ludlam, Jackie Lambie and Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce resigning or ineligible to stand in Parliament for holding citizenship with another country.
It's a long time working for one paymaster.
It was the end of an era for WA's top cop Carlo Callaghan, retiring in August after 13 years as Commissioner, the longest-serving head of WA Police.
All I'm asking the gold sector to do is pay another $20 an ounce out of a gold price around $1,650 an ounce.
The state government continued its assault on economic repair in October ahead of its budget, introducing a tax on mining companies to contribute to fixing the state's finances, but it was rejected by opposition parties and mining companies. November saw history in the making across Australia, when same-sex marriage received the country's support in the federal government's plebiscite, paving the way for a bill allowing same-sex marriage to be legal. But triumph turned to tragedy later in the month, after Papua New Guinea police forcibly and violently moved more than 350 asylum seekers from Manus Island Detention Centre. Controversy also hit the city of Melville to start December, after the Department of Local Government launched an inquiry into 300 complaints against the city.
I think at the end of the day there will be no significant findings against the city. There will possibly, I'm sure they'll dig deep to find some minor suggestions, but hopefully it will result in some changes to the Local Government Act.
And capping off the year, Colin Barnett announced he's retiring from politics, confirming on radio he would leave at the end of January, colleagues praising him for his time in office.
Colin does things his way, and as he always does, and has in this case, but he's done the right thing. He's moved on at the right time.
These were the main events that told the story of 2017 in WA and across Australia. While there were talking points of the year, events in the new year will bring a new story that will be the narrative of 2018.
Thank you to the people of Western Australia.
And that was the final episode of Western Perspective for 2017. We'll be back in the new year with an all-new series of the program. From all of us here on WP, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. But for the last time this year, it's back to you, Ivan and Danielle.
Nelson, thank you very much. Recapping this week's main news again, regional families and students rallied against the state government's education cuts, with the School of the Air at risk of being axed. The Young National says the centralisation will be problematic for regional families. However, Education Minister Sue Ellery expressed confidence, saying the education services for remote students will remain unchanged. She says the department will decide on a model that incorporates all the values for the family that uses softer.
And that's our final weekly news and current affairs for 2017.
We'll be back in January. In the meantime, you can catch up with the latest news on our website and Facebook.
On behalf of the WAMN News team, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Well, please look after yourselves. Until we see you again in 2018, good evening to you.